Hey, everybody, it's me, Dave Schrader from the Paranormal 60, Ghosts of Devil's Perch, and the Holzer Files. And for some reason, you're tuned in to the Paranormal Zone.
A ghostly apparition in the dark at night.
Yes. For some reason, you are indeed tuned into the Paranormal Zone, your weekly dose of all things, you guessed it, paranormal, strange, and mysterious. And it is that time. It is guest interview time. And man, what a great time we had last night talking with TV and radio personality. You know him from the Travel Channel's Holzer Files, as well as the Ghosts of Devil's Perch, and host of his own highly successful podcast, The Paranormal 60. We're talking about Darkness Dave himself. Yes, Dave Schrader, a well-respected, well-known voice in the paranormal landscape. We had a great time talking all things paranormal with Dave. Dave does not hold back when it comes to sharing his thoughts, opinions, and takes. If you want to check out all of Dave's content, go to paranormal60.com today. That is paranormal, the number 60.com. But let's cut through all of the BS. You're here to listen to Darkness Dave Schrader.
Well, Dave Schrader, it is an honor again, sir. This is, believe it or not, the second time we've been able to chat, but the first time for Mike. I'm knocking on any sort of wood around me here and stuff, but the last time you and I got together to chat, Mike was having a kerfuffle again and wasn't able to join us.
Make it on that one.
No.
Well, I'm glad I could be here for both of you this time. We can all hold hands and sing Kumbaya and talk about the paranormal.
And Patrick probably knows the words.
No, maybe.
Maybe. We all know the words. Come on.
Yeah, we do.
It's awesome to talk to you, Dave. I know you're a busy guy. Thank you for making time. As you figured out.
It's been my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no, absolutely. Thank you, sir. And there he goes. He's pulling the trick.
I kid.
I called it on that one. I said, there he goes. He's pulling our leg.
Yep.
Awesome.
Usually it's me doing stuff like that, but we're good.
Well, just when we were emailing back and forth, and I was inquiring about any potential projects you may have in the works or anything, down the pipe, so to speak. You're always busy. You're always keeping busy. You always have events to attend. Before we forget, I want to talk about some upcoming events you have. You're a Minnesota guy. I'm a Minnesota guy. Mike's Nodak. Yeah. He's North Dakota all the way.
I'm a Nodak. But I do love Minnesota, though. Absolutely. Lived there for a few years.
All right.
I want to hear about what cool stuff you have coming up in Minnesota because, quite frankly, Mike and I want to go. So lay it on us. Sure. I know you have the Palmer House coming up, and that has been a destination of ours. A dream destination of ours for a while. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's coming up in June. I'm going to be back to the Palmer House with Shane Pittman from the Holzer Files, myself, and Bill Chappell. Bill has created a lot of the different equipment you've seen on Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, Paranormal State, on Holzer Files, Destination Fear. He's the engineer behind a lot of that stuff. So you get a chance to come ghost hunt with us. We have a medium that's going to be there. We'll be walking you through ghost hunting through mediumship and doing some gallery sessions. So it's going to be a full weekend, a lot of fun, a lot of learning, just overall good times. And the Palmer House never lets down. I shouldn't say that because now I'll jinx it, but they always seem to have some kind of weird activity taking place there. So we're going to have fun, and it's not in the brutal heat of summer, and it's not in the freezing depths of Minnesota. Last year we did one called the Hell Freezes Over event, And because Shane had always said, man, you couldn't get me to Minnesota, hell would have to freeze over. And I got him to come in like January. So I called it the hell freezes over. And then that's when we had like that week of negative 65 degrees. So his southern ass just could not tolerate the cold. And then we did Hell in the Cell at Joliet State Prison in like August.
Wow.
And it lived up to it. So yeah, Hell Freezes Over lived up to it. Hell in the Cell lived up to it. I think it was 109 or 112 degrees inside Joliet Prison at that time of year, because it's one giant, pizza baking brick oven. So it was brutal, but we had a great time and lots of paranormal activity. And if you showed up, I was wearing shorts. And
well, that's worth the price of admission right there.
If you say so.
Now, what is it about the Palmer House that sets it apart from any other paranormal locale? I mean, for those who are listening, chances are they may be familiar with it, but in case they aren't, talk to us a little bit about what is going on at the Palmer House.
Palmer House is in Sauk Center, Minnesota. It's just a beautiful, old, elegant hotel. Now I think they call it a boutique hotel, and it's a really neat little place. It had an interesting history to it. You had, it was a brothel at one point during the flu epidemic, not the recent flu epidemic, but the past flu epidemic. They actually used the basement of the Palmer because it was subterranean and cold. That's where they stored bodies. There was a fire there and some lives were lost. So there's been a lot of tragedy and history to the place. And it's really neat. I went there very skeptical, because I'm always skeptical of any place with a gift shop. But they got to make money, so I understand it. And I went in, and it's lived up to the reputation. I think in 17 years of going there, maybe twice nothing happened, and that's it. So, and I go up there a couple times a year, even when I'm not doing live events. I go up for my daughter's birthdays with a couple of their friends, and we go ghost hunt, and friends that come in from out of town that want to go ghost hunt. So, I've been there a lot over 17 years, and it's always got some fun popping. So we're going to be doing, some lectures on ghost hunting, how to ghost hunt technology, just having a good time, and then doing some ghost hunts at night. So there are, I think, just a handful of the 2-day tickets that still remain. And then Joliet State Prison is coming up in May, so you can actually go. We go back behind bars. I missed it. I should have named it properly, because it takes place on May 5th. I should have called it Clinko de Mayo, as we go back behind bars. But it's Shane and myself and medium Kitsy Duncan, and that place lives up to its expectations too. Crazy activity. So just having a lot of fun. And if your listeners and followers would like to go with, they can go check out darknessevents.com. That's darknessevents.com, and get a chance to investigate with us, see some of these places for themselves. Here, I'll even throw that up on the screen for you. How about that? Investigate the Paranormal with Dave. And there at that website, you can see all the locations I'm going to be at throughout the year. And I'm going to be all over the United States and around the world, including September. I'm going to be doing a tour in England with a stop off at the Festival of the Unexplained Paranormal Conference, the big UK paranormal conference. So I've got probably like 7 spots left open for that. So if your listeners want to go see a haunted tour of England with myself and historian Neil Story, and then get to go to a paranormal conference in England, this is going to be great. My Germany and Prague event in July, completely sold out. We did Egypt back in February, completely sold out. But there's just so many amazing opportunities to come on out and meet and see me and ghost hunt at some places and tour. So darknessevents.com, that's the best way to find me.
Wow. Awesome opportunity.
Man, that is an awesome slate coming up. Holy cow. Yeah. That's impressive. Now, how good of a feeling is that? Like, how fulfilling is that for you, Dave? I'm sorry, Dave. I'm just curious, how fulfilling of a feeling is that to be able to travel the world for something that you are passionate about? I mean, that has to just be something that is just heartwarming. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been a dad since I was 20. So the idea of travel, I didn't get to travel much. I spent the better part of 20 years wishing I could travel, and then doing the podcast and the paranormal radio show. I just started opening up opportunities, and I'd get to go. And I didn't want to be the guy sitting behind the mic talking to others about their experiences. If you told me the Palmer House was hopping and paranormal, I was going to go to the Palmer House. If you told me the Assetti Ranch in Trout Lake, Washington had UFO activity on a clear night, you had a 90% chance of seeing something, I went to the Assetti Ranch. So I love the fact that it's given me the opportunity to travel and that people around the world want to hear what I have to say and what I want to share and pay me to come out and do these things. So it's a pretty nice little gig if you can get it.
I think you're set.
But hopefully.
Yeah.
Oh, man. No, again, that's I know envy is a bad thing, but
no, don't be envious. Set your goal.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You shouldn't. It took me till I was in my 40s before I got to travel and see the world. So don't be envious. You now have an end goal. Put that manifestation out there that you want to travel, you want to see these things. You've got listeners all over. Start piecing things together and finding cool little locations that you can do events at and build up from there. And it's, gives your listeners and followers an opportunity to come out and see things with you, which they want to do. They like you guys. They feel like there's a connection, and this gives them a chance to get out and get off the couch as well.
Oh, amen. And it's funny that you said that too, because just this last year, Mike and I ourselves have started to go, on a smaller scale. We've been kind of traveling the country a little bit.
We've been keeping you within like 10 hours.
Within 10 hours, within a 10-hour drive so far. But
you got to make sure that those ankle bracelets don't alert. Right. So.
Yeah, Mike can only go so far. So
that's right.
We we chose a destination. I'm curious about your thoughts on first, the Sally House, because that's where we made our first little trek to, and then we have upcoming plan the Villisca House. And that's Mike. It's actually a little bit shorter of a drive to the Villisca House, I believe. But
it is only like an hour or so. But
only like an hour. Sure. Now,
Villisca's in Iowa. So
yes.
From Minnesota and North Dakota, you guys can drop right down. Ohio, or not Ohio, Kansas, right, is where the Sally
Kansas,
House is.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, so you got to kind of jut around a little bit. I've never been to either. And it's stupid because I'm probably an hour and a half away from Villisca, and I'm buddies with Johnny Hauser, but I've never actually gotten out there. I've heard some crazy ass EVPs and heard some amazing stories, but I've never gone. And same with Sally House. I've had a chance to talk to the couple that lived there on numerous occasions and had them on my shows and heard some of the terrifying things that took place. And, Deb and Tony Pickman, and I think that eventually took its toll on them as well. I don't believe they're together anymore. I think all the years of that kind of eroded their relationship and that stress. But the paranormal is a tough deal to be in, and if you don't take care of yourself, shielding and know what you're doing, it can eventually eat you like a cancer. So I'm sorry to see that Deb and Tony didn't stay together, but I'm amazed they made it as long as they did with the type of negativity that was coming their way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mike, share a little bit your initial, feelings. But we can talk about very briefly about our experience at the Sally House, and we were, very excited to make the trek down there. We personally love making the long drives, checking out parts of the country you don't normally get to see. And we did the overnight there, just Mike and I. And it's when we walked in there, Mike just immediately says, like, "Don't you feel that?" I mean, go ahead, Mike.
It was weird. A little bit. Yeah, it was just an odd energy feeling. I got like I had a confusion almost feeling, and I couldn't understand that. But it
kind of when you see a hot grandma.
Boy, well, that would go beyond. I was a CNA for 12 years. In nursing homes and that, and for hospice, and I've seen a lot of grandmas, but yeah, never. It's But
sorry, took you down a very weird rabbit hole.
Yeah,
let's reel it back to the Sally House.
I had to stumble through my response to that.
Yeah,
but I love your sense of humor. That's very good.
Thank you.
Well, just before I get back to Mike here, I do want to throw it out there. And Mike, interrupt me anytime you want. You usually do. Mike definitely has had a very, very paranormal life, and that's no joke. I mean, he seems to have been experiencing the paranormal since he was a young kid. And I wanted to ask you quickly, Dave, if you think that some people are, for whatever reason, more apt to experience the paranormal, and if so, is there any reason behind that? Because some people who want to experience it, AKA me, and something I get told that's right in front of your face.
I've heard the more highly intelligent you are, the better the chances are you'll have experiences.
Oh, you got me again there. You walked right into that one.
Yeah. No, maybe it has to do with if you believe in reincarnation and the soul's journey. Maybe the longer you've been here, the more you've incarnated.
There you go.
The more.
I like that, actually, that's a
the hell was that idea. Noise? Well, sorry, got my windows open because it's 82 degrees in Minnesota, which is very rare. It's more rare than a Bigfoot sighting to see Minnesota at 82. But I think maybe the further along you are in your soul journey, the more there is a chance that you can experience these things. Or maybe it's just being in the right place at the right time, or the more open you are and the more experiences you have. Mm-hmm. I think there's a level of, if you're living in a place of desperation, it's like dating, right? When you don't have someone special in your life, you're lonely. You want to meet somebody. You can't. It just, everything seems to be against you. The minute you find somebody, the minute you've got peace and love and happiness, others come out of the woodwork and they want to hook up and connect with you and be with you, right? It's kind of like once you've the stink of desperation off of you, then suddenly the paranormal opens up to you. And maybe trying too hard puts that out there. It's, I've spoken to mediums that say, yeah, you're not going to see your mom come through to you because your wall is still so high with grief that it's making it really hard for them to come through. And so maybe there is some level of that bar romantics that if you smell too desperate, you're not going to attract the people over to you that you want, and you're not going to attract the paranormal activity you want.
That's a great analogy.
I've been to so many places with people that walk in with their crosses and their holy water and their little mini Bibles. And I think, if I were a ghost, am I going to try to communicate with that knucklehead who seems terrified? Or am I going to roll over to Mike, who's like an open book and just wants to have this experience? And you say you want an experience, but you're kind of putting out the vibe that maybe you're not ready for your experience.
Yeah, it could be, Patrick. That's like,
man, I feel like I need to lay down for this episode.
Yeah. Welcome to the Paranormal Couch. I'm your psychologist, Dave Schrader.
I think you'd be damn good at that. That's pretty good. I like that.
Maybe.
That was maybe. You never know. It's all about having that open mind, and I'm definitely down with that. And Mike and I have talked about this several times. It's on a personal level, I'm not sure if I'm like just so desperate to experience it, or if I've just got, like you said, like a wall of some sort that I might not even be aware of at this time.
Are you technology strapped? Are you the kind of guy that has to have every camera going and recorder, and you're focused on the little screen in front of you? Because that's going to limit you.
Absolutely.
And then here's the thing you got to think. In dark situations, you've got your phone or your camera. You're looking at that light source 6 inches from your eyes, and then you hear something, you look up, and your eyes are trying to adjust to that deep inky blackness, and you're missing what's going on. I tell people, shut down, turn off all your equipment. Let's just absorb the moment. Let's absorb the room. And I use a recorder with maybe a little pin light on it and a flashlight, because I want to be in there. I want to hear it. And then what I tell people is, like, if we're doing an EVP session, don't focus your attention here in the middle of the room. Everybody kind of look off in different directions, because sometimes the spirits are walking around checking you out, and you're so hyper focused on this spot right here. And if the ghost doesn't appear here, it didn't happen. Meanwhile, everybody's focused over there are seeing things. And door frames are a great place, because you see things poke their heads in and out or walk past them. You see, look for light, things that have a very low light setting, and kind of keep your eye on that area. And sometimes you'll see things walk past. So I get off the technology, which sounds weird coming from a guy on TV, but if you watch the Holzer Files and watch Ghost to Devil's Perch, I really only use my recorder. And I try to stay in the moment. And even when I'm reviewing my audio, if you notice, when I play back the recording, I close my eyes to take away that distraction, right? If your eyes are open and you're listening and you're kind of looking around the room. Is anything weird happening? You might miss the response on the recorder. So I close my eyes, I shut down to that is the thing I'm listening to. And then I play it back in different, I'll hold it up to my ear, I'll hold it away from my ear, because sometimes you're sitting there and you're like, and everybody around you is like, oh my God, what did that say? And you're like, dude, there's nothing there. And they're like, oh, there's something there. And you're listening, you're like, it's a foot away from me. How do you mean there's nothing there? And then you pull the recorder away and it's not so close to your ear and distorting. And all of a sudden you hear the voice. You know, you hear it a foot away, but you couldn't hear it right up against your ear.
Sure.
So there's just different variances. And then you run into the concept of, if you're expecting too much. I don't go in with any expectations. I go into the Palmer house knowing I've had experiences 90% of the time, but I could care less if I have an experience or not. I'm going to share with you, my viewers, my guests, my experiences, and just open up to possibilities and let's see what happens. And sometimes I'm so focused on trying to get the ghost of blah 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 to come through that I'm missing the other scenario, right? I was there ghost hunting with my kids at the Palmer house, and we were in Lucy's room, and Lucy's not coming through. Lucy's not there. And then my daughter leans over the spirit box and she goes, Raymond, is that you? Yes. Okay. Raymond, are you mad that we're here? Yes. Well, if you want us to leave, just be clear. Tell us to get out. Get out. And that's all we heard through the spirit box. That was pretty clear. So again, I'm so hyper-focused on Lucy, Lucy, Lucy. Maybe there's other spirits waiting to take their turn to talk, and if you don't engage them. So I always encourage people, you know, are there any spirits here that would like to communicate? And sometimes if it's not working, I'll even say, is there a spirit attached to me, Patrick, or Mike that might like to come forward and help us bridge this chasm and help us communicate, whether it's our own spirit guides, our own ancestors? Please come forward and help this. And sometimes that boost is what gets me communicating.
Makes perfect sense.
It makes perfect sense. And, you know, it's listening to you, it's almost like you're a successful radio host or something. I mean, man, you sound good.
Barely.
You know, one thing I wanted to say, but, you know, it just immediately popped in my head, the stuff that Mike and I have captured, and we're very amateur investigators. We have been for 15 plus years, whatever. The stuff that we have captured that is unexplainable, inexplicable is, correct me, Mike, if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm not on this one. The stuff that we've captured happens when it's just like Mike and I are having a casual conversation.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden the voice pops in like, okay, who the hell was that?
Yeah.
You know, when you play it on the playback, and there's one in particular, I'll spare you the details. Our listeners have heard us talk about this 1,000,001 times, but that has really set us down this path. It is the most clear, most undeniable EVP that we've ever heard, we've ever captured personally, and we're still scratching our heads to this day. And hence, that's why we're doing a paranormal podcast and talking with awesome guests like you, because we just love getting everyone's opinions and their thoughts and their theories. And your point was great right there. Don't
it's a good
try
way for
too
us
hard.
to learn a lot, and we do.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, I have this great team out of Long Island in New York that I've talked to and been friends with for years. And they were telling me, yeah, we got called to this house. And it was a really cool story, Dave. The grandfather passed away. That's not the cool part, but he was still kicking around. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? And they go, well, there was no doubt this family, the grandfather had like a workshop in the attic. And at night, they'd hear footsteps and things being dragged on the floor and hammering, sawing. Like Grandpa was still up there just doing his deal. And so we came and they were like, are we nuts? And then they heard the footsteps. So they were going up. So they went up. They investigated the whole house, ended in the attic. Nothing. Flatline. They're getting nothing. And they're like, wow, that sucks. You know, we're not getting anything. And as soon as they stopped focusing on it, they're like, hey, dude, you excited about opening weekend with the Mets? Dude, who's ever excited about the Mets, right? And then they're kind of laughing, and he goes, well, you know, man, when they were the amazing Mets, and he goes, yeah, but what was that, 50 years ago? What was that, 57? No, I think it was 54. No, dude, it was later than that. It was like 57. No, I really think it was around 54. They play back this recording, and as they're debating this, the only response they get all night is you hear the old man go, Oh, Jesus Christ, it was 64. Right?
That's
and
awesome.
I don't remember what the actual years are. I'm just giving you kind of a related version of it. But they go and they look it up, and that's the year they were the Mason Mets, and this guy was a huge Mets fan. Wow. That's the only response they got. But they came back down and they said, "Does this sound familiar?" And the family burst out laughing. They're going, "That's our grandpa. He loved the Mets. That's hilarious. Thank you for proving that that's who's up there." So it's kind of cool, right? So
absolutely,
having those moments when you're not expecting it. We got this really crazy EVP. We were at the Queen Mary doing an investigation for the Holzer Files. We were the first paranormal team ever to have the whole ship to ourselves. This place has been an active hotel since 1967. The same year I was born is the year they docked that ship. It has been active every day since until COVID and shut down.
Yep.
And we got access during COVID to go in and film. There was nobody on board except for 2 security guys and our film crew. That's it. The place was hungry. The spirits wanted to be heard and seen. We were having crazy experiences. And at one point, we get into this area in one of the now my mind's completely blank on the name of it, but we're in one of these banquet hall areas, which during World War II was a makeshift hospital ward. We didn't know that at this point. And Cindy's picking up, she goes, I'm picking up on this doctor. There's like this really badass doctor, not like good badass, but like a really bad guy. And I think he was experimenting on POWs or on people here. Well, at one time there were POWs aboard, and it hit another ship in the ocean, killing some of those POWs, and they tried to bring some up to save them. So as we're kind of talking in there, not knowing this situation at this point, we start hearing banging. And we're all, what the hell is that? And all of us, our production crew, everybody's in this room, and everybody's like, what the flip was that? And you could hear, so I turn on my recorder. I'm like, okay, we can hear the banging on the walls. We're not even filming at this point. I think one of the guys lifted his camera up just nonchalantly. We're recording, and I go, blah, 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 blah. I'm asking a few questions. We play it back. I don't hear it. And again, I've got the recorder up to my ear, and Shane goes, dude, it responded. And I'm like, I didn't hear a thing. And he goes, yeah, listen. And I rewound it. And sure enough, you hear it say, like, I killed those people, or I killed them. That's what it said. I killed them. And I'm like, Sydney's like, whoa, there it is. But it's a real faint EVP. So I go, okay. I start another one. I go, who is this? You said you killed them. Did you like killing these people? Yes, I did. Oh. That clear. And it's like bonkers, but we weren't filming really. We're like, oh my God, somebody say he caught it. And they're like, yeah, we kind of caught it, but we've got the whole production team standing here. Who's going to believe it's real? So they didn't end up using that aspect or that EVP, but it was crazy. Just kind of being in the moment and talking, joking around. Another great moment on the Queen Mary. I was with Grant Wilson from Ghost Hunters. Yes. And we were going to go. They gave us carte blanche. When I used to do the events there, I was the king of the Queen. So I could go where I wanted, do what I wanted. And one of the first nights, early before the big event started up, we would always come in a day or two early. Grant's like, dude, let's go check out the hull of the ship. Let's go. I'm like, all right. So we go, and we're going through, and he's got his recorder, and he sticks it in his back pocket, and we're climbing down this metal ladder, and I'm below him. He's above me, and he keeps going, huh? Making fart noises with his mouth. I'm like, disgusting. I'm down here. And we're joking around, and we get down in the area, and this is where the POWs were and everything. We're kind of just taking it all in, and we, as we're talking, not doing anything, and I feel all of a sudden, these like sparkles sparked the air, and we both stopped, and I'm like, did you see that? And he goes, yeah, those sparkles. I'm like, yeah. He goes, what was it? So we're like looking for flashlights. Is there dangling wires that are sparking, or there's no wires? And then a few minutes later, 5 feet in front of us, these sparkles. It's like Tinkerbell waving her wand, and you see those sparkles. We're like, what is that? We play the EVP or the recorder back that he had going the whole time. And he goes, dude, listen to this when we're going down the ladder. And you hear Grant go, huh? And he's still making the noise. And I'm starting to go, hey. So both of us are accounted for.
Yep.
And very clearly you hear this little child voice start going, just starts giggling over the sound of us. And, this place has got a couple of kids' spirits in there. So you could hear him, you could hear me, and overlapping and over the top is somebody laughing at us.
That's crazy.
So yeah, being there, Brandon Elvis from the new iteration of Ghost Hunters on A&E caught a really crazy piece of video when they were filming, and they weren't even filming. They just happened to have their camera, and they're walking past one of the little changing booths down by the first class pool, and they caught a dead figure in there. They even had doctors and experts weigh in on it, and the footage is out there. Brandon talks about it, but they're like, yeah, the way the eyes reflect the light, that's a corpse we're looking at as they pass by. So crazy activity. But again, they weren't trying to ghost hunt at that moment. They were just going down to get their bearings, and their camera's going, and they happen to catch that quick clip.
That is absolutely amazing. I mean, it all makes sense. As some pseudo skeptics will laugh at that, though. Oh, something makes sense in the paranormal.
Yeah, what is a pseudo skeptic? I've heard of skeptics. There's only skeptics or believers. Yeah,
pseudo skeptic is a term that I don't want to say I coined, because I didn't. But Mike and I, it's something that is just, it drives us up the wall. It's an individual who. Well, what are your thoughts on an individual, Dave, who? How do I say this delicately? Basically, they don't give the paranormal one chance of being even a possibility.
That's just a cynic.
Yeah, kind of a cynic, but I mean,
you goes a little deeper.
Yeah, you can be cynical.
There's not much deeper than being cynical. Cynical is just Jesus Christ could walk in here during this deal and start handing you and me and Mike loaves and fishes, and somebody's Dr. Michael Shermer's going to go, we're having a mass solution. This is a digital deal. Your eyes get fatigued watching the screen, and at certain periods, you're going to see these things. I'm like, but that doesn't explain how people around the world saw that moment when Jesus walked in. Well, obviously, you set that up. That was a man in a costume. No. As a matter of fact, you watched him materialize through the wall and hand me fishes. And you could do a lot of really remarkable special effects. That's a cynic. There's nothing you're going to do to change your mind. There's nothing beyond cynic. We need more skeptics. I am a skeptic, a hardened skeptic, but I'm a believer. I call myself a skeptical believer. Cynics, they're always like, well, how do you address people that don't believe? I don't. It's not my job to make you a believer.
Right.
You will have your own experience and it will change your life. But there are even people, guys, that will approach me and they're like, hey, I got to tell you, I listen to your show because it's funny to me. Listening to all these morons that think they're running into Bigfoot and ghosts and fairies. They're completely batch crazy.
Right.
The paranormal does not exist. They're just nuts. But with that said, when I was a kid, I was laying in bed one night and I heard something and the closet door opened and my grandmother floated through the room and vanished into the wall. And that used to be a bigger bedroom. That was that was the entrance into my grandmother's room, and the wall is where the door used to be into her closet. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, what do you make of that? And I go, it was a ghost of your grandmother. No, really? What do you think it was? You just what?
You told
That's
me
a
what
skeptic.
it was.
It's a cynic who just does not want to believe. But I will give. There are people like Ben Radford, who is a skeptic on the edge of cynicism. There is Dr. Michael Shermer from Skeptic Magazine, who is a skeptic, but God love him. He wants to believe. He tells you, I want to believe. He came forward when he got married and said, we had an old time radio that has not worked in 40 years. And on the day of our wedding, it turned on and started playing the song that was a favorite of my wife's father. And then when the song ended, it went off. We haven't got it on again. I can't explain it. I can't tell you it's a ghost, but I can't explain it. And I like that aspect. All right, you're not going to thumbtack it and say ghost, but you are going to say that's weird. And then you've got guys like Joe Nickel that are just pricks that, will just say, no, that's not it. And there are no UFOs. Really? Because astronauts, people are wrong. And when you're up in space and the moisture is different in your eyes, so wait a minute. We're putting the best of the best in space with billions of dollars of hardware, and you're going to tell me they look out the window and they don't know that's their own capsule. No, they don't. They make mistakes all the time. No, that's not why we pay them to do that job. They don't make those kind of mistakes. And Joe Nickel, and people can attack me for this, and Joe Nickel can attack me, and he can also kiss my hairy white ass, because he's not somebody that you can have a conversation with.
Right.
I have absolutely no respect for Joe Nickel. He's a prick. And I will go on, and they're like, "Oh, Dave, that's not fair." Yeah, it is fair. I've talked to the guy. And here, Mike, start to tell me about a ghost story, and I'll be Joe Nickel.
Okay. Countdown. Mike, you're you, and Dave, you're Joe Nickel. Go, Mike.
Right.
Okay. Well, my first ghost that I saw was a young girl that.
Well, first of all, don't call it a ghost, because you don't know it's a ghost.
I know it wasn't a human. Wasn't alive.
It wasn't a human, but you don't know. You can't be certain.
Yep.
But it damn well wasn't a ghost. I can guarantee you that.
And then that's as far as you can go with
that. Mike also saw an unidentified flying object, though, and he swears he saw it with his own.
Well, sure. Anything that you can't identify is an unidentified flying object, but it's not an alien craft.
Okay, well, how about me?
I'm sorry. Go on, Mike. Your ghost, Mike. Go on. Tell me the rest of your ghost story.
Well, let's see. She was
it was a she.
Floating.
So you could see. Could you see her boobs, Mike? Is that how you know it was a she?
No, she was like 10, 11 years old. So
okay.
Long braided ponytail. Her eyes were closed. She had a little smile on her face.
Are you a drinker? Are you a smoker?
I was.
Are you a midnight toker? Are you sure?
12 years old at the time myself.
You were 12 years old.
Yeah, so I was just a kid, and probably just my imagination.
Mike, what did you eat last Thursday for lunch?
Yeah, that was the liverwurst and sardines on a
sure it was.
Whole wheat.
Yeah, and if that's what you ate as a child, that's probably why you saw what you saw. And that's having a conversation.
And they have an answer for everything.
It's an answer for everything, and you're 12 years old. You can't tell me that you remember that detailed and that clear. You're wrong. Well, don't tell me I'm wrong. You're not there, and you're not me. You didn't have that experience. Are we fallible? Yes. Dr. Michael Shermer shows a perfect example of this. He goes, watch this video behind me. And I want you to see there's a team in red and a team in white. I want you to tell me how many times the team in red bounces the basketball between them. Okay, go. And he shows the video, and everybody's watching and watching and watching. And he gets on with the video, and he goes, okay, Patrick, how many times did the team in red bounce the ball?
Clearly 7 times.
Okay. Mike, how many times did you see the team in red bounce the ball?
230.
Okay. Interesting, right? Because that's a pretty big discrepancy. Did you guys notice anything else strange about the video?
Nothing that popped out to me. I mean, it seemed like an average.
Let's watch that again. Video. And he starts it up, and he goes, now don't focus on any team. And you watch the team in red comes out, the team in white comes out, and the team in red starts bouncing the ball, and a guy in a gorilla costume walks in between them and stands there and then walks out of frame. But you're so concentrated on the ball, you missed a gorilla walk into frame. And then you're like, well, you're just showing me the next video, which is a recreation. And people in the audience are like, no, I saw the gorilla. So it's where your focus is. So to me, that's a great representation. That's not talking down to me. That's not saying, no, you're wrong. You're wrong, Mike. That's not what you saw. You didn't see that. What it is Dr. Michael Shermer saying, this is how I can show you the brain is fallible, and memories can be dodgy at best. And okay, that's a respectful way to show me, right? So that's having a conversation with Joe Nickel was like talking to a smart device that's not listening to your voice, and you keep addressing it by the wrong name. It just is, you're telling it, Charlemagne, shut down. Charlemagne, shut down. And Charlemagne just keeps yammering at you when its name is Ziggy, right? And So that's it. That's why people are going to be like, oh, you have no respect. I don't. I've talked to Ben Radford, who is, and I won't say minion because that sounds like an idiot underling, but he is a collaborator with both gentlemen. Mm-hmm. And he is, I think, a great mix of both gentlemen. And I like Dr. Michael Shermer a lot, and we disagree a lot, but he does it with respect, and I appreciate that. And Ben Radford, a little bit more on the no, but he'll tell you, I want to believe, Dave. I want to see this. I want to see this happen. Take me.
Something tells me. Now, I know you said you were going to go out to dinner later. I'm assuming you're not going out to dinner with Joe Nickel.
No.
Okay, I just want to make that clear.
I will tell you, I had dinner with the amazing Randy. At Dragon Con back in 2006 or 7.
Oh, one of Mike's favorites.
He is a pocket gnome. He was really like 4 foot nothing. Yeah. And had the long white, he looked like a garden gnome hanging out there. And I'm not beating up on him. It's just like he is so underwhelming when you meet him. I was expecting this kind of voracious, terrifying little man, and hyper intelligent, very smart. Mm-hmm. And he is smarter than the average bear, and he knows how things work. But I also think there was some P.T. Barnum to him, that he knew there was money to be made batting heads with people who have had experiences and challenging. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's bad to challenge the paradigm. I just do it in a much more respectful way. And I've joked with people that have told me that, and I might say to you, Mike, okay, wait, were you drinking that night? Right. No, Dave, I don't drink. Well, do you smoke? Maybe a little, no, I don't, but I appreciate you asking. And that's as far as I take it. I don't, you were probably high or stoned. Did you know that even lack of sleep and too much caffeine can cause hallucinatory effect? And you can read that. That's science. That's not me telling you that, Mike. Yeah. That's the truth. And that's the truth. So you're wasting people's time selling your snake oil nonsense.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Whatever. Right. So it's kind of like that. That's the way it works out. But I have a lot of respect, and I like Ben Radford. It's been a long time since I've had him on the show. I should have him back on. And I like Dr. Michael Shermer, and I promoted Skeptic Magazine and him. And I believe they're both great guys to talk to. But I also realize I don't have time. But
so you're not going to use you're not going to use my phrase pseudo skeptic in your magazine anytime soon.
No. Hey, I don't have
even if I submit magazine. It,
because pseudo means a fake skeptic. Right. They're not fake skeptics. They're real skeptics.
That's true.
But they're
I look at it in a weird way. I guess
cynical nature. Yeah, I mean, it's okay to look at things and not have a grasp of the English language, Patrick. Look at you. Sorry, that was my Joe Nickel coming out.
Exactly.
But I got to meet the amazing Randy. I had lunch with him. He was a lot softer on things than he appeared to be. And he certainly was a skeptic, and he had a lot of cynicism to him because he'd seen a lot of people get taken. And but he proved to me, he goes, Dave, I proved without a shadow of a doubt Peter Popoff was a fake. I proved it. Peter Popoff was a famous.
You can look at him and say that's a fake. I think.
You know what? That's not fair, because there are people I look at that I think you're an idiot, and actually you have a genius IQ. True. Right.
True.
So we can't judge a book by its cover. So I'll give him that. But he took it a step further. Peter Popoff was a healer. He was a religious healer, healing in the name of Christ and making millions of money through donations. And Randy went and tuned in, and people filled out little cards about why they were there. And they got the cards and they read, take Patrick over and set him in seat 7, row 2. And set Mike over in row 9 over on the other side, so that way Popoff is jumping around the audience. And then he had an earbud in, and they actually found the audio frequency of the radio signal the wife was backstage saying, okay, Mike in row 2, left section, is wearing the newsy cap. He is here because he has lower back pain and intestinal discomfort. And Peter Popoff's like, the Lord is pulling me to this section. And there is a man whose back feels burdened, whose stomach and interiors are constantly, and I feel it's this man with the hat. Does this make sense to you? What is your name? I'm Mike. Mike, come up and let the Lord heal you. And he could play back the recordings. He proved this guy was a fake. And Peter Popov did not get stopped. He continued to do it and may still be doing it today. I don't even know if he's alive. But
I've seen him flipping channels. If it's live or not, I don't know. But
and he says, Dave, you could lead a horse to water, but you can't force him to drink the truth. But I have a lot of fun doing what I do and showing the charlatans and making people question their beliefs because I think that's fun. Okay, great. And Randy was a showman, right? But I had Randy on my show in the beginning, and there was a gentleman by the name of Lou Gentili who was a very good EVP recorder. He could get EVP in a lot of places, and I stood next to him watching him do it. And there was the $1 million challenge, and Randy was also good at the 3-card Monty, and he'd tell you, "Oh yeah, $1 million challenge." And he goes, "Okay, so come with me to this haunted location. I'm going to get a." Well, no, that's not how you do it. You're going to come in my lab, and you're going to do it this way. And all of a sudden, it starts looking at, but your lab's not haunted. But if you could talk to ghosts, it shouldn't matter where you are. Well, it does because this place is haunted, right? So he wanted to do it in a lab setting. He wanted specific things, and I did see a few of the contracts, and there was always shuffling being made about what the parameters really were. And if you were able to beat those parameters, they changed another aspect of it. That money was never meant to be given out, in my humble opinion. But it caused a dialogue. So, Randy has passed over. Maybe the joke's on him, right? Maybe here lies Randy all dressed up and nowhere to go, right?
That's the thing. I know. I mean, it's kind of sad. That's like the only thing that would actually make him a believer would be, I guess, death itself. Death in physical existence. Now, I know you have to go, Dave. This is awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Put on your Joe Nickel cap really briefly again.
Sure.
Mike and I at the Sally House when we were there, and it could be anything. But again, one of those casual conversations. The two things that we captured, a couple things we captured, was when we weren't trying. At the Sally House yet again. Got a crazy EVP, but also when we were there, Mike, we're kind of taking a break. That silly little music box decided to start playing on its own. That wasn't running the whole day, wasn't running any other time and stuff.
Doesn't matter to
Joe Nickel.
Because at night, when it's getting cooler and things are contracting, the crank might let go a little bit because it's contracting at night, and now the metal's swelling and it's releasing the pin, and bing, 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 and that's all you're going to get. And the EVP, do you know the specs of that recorder? Are you sure that it's not shielded properly for getting stray radio frequency or CB radio or police radio scanners? So that's what you probably got. And but you know what? This recording says Joe Nickel's a prick. Right. And how do I know that Dave Schrader is not out in the car with a walkie-talkie, and you guys have figured out which frequency works best, which walkie-talkie is going to work, and he's out in the car saying Joe Nickel's a prick, and you got it on recording. So there's no, I can't tell you what it is. I tell people my one pet peeve is when you send me a picture of a ghost, and you're like, sure. Can you tell me if this is a ghost? And I go, I absolutely cannot. But look at it. There's a ghostly figure. There's something that appears to be a ghostly figure. So I'm sure I come off as the Joe Nickel to many believers. But I say, what you've done is you've given me a 2,000-piece puzzle that's all broken apart and upside down. And you take one piece and you hand it to me and you go, what is this picture?
Mm-hmm. That's a
great way to put it. Because I don't know what's behind me, what's on the sides of me. I don't know if there's a refraction of light coming through that's hitting the wooden staircase at such a way that it's creating the 3D illusion of a woman standing there when it's really just a light anomaly, but the camera angle, the light angle gives it a 3D perspective that makes it look like something standing. So I would have to be there at that time of day to look at those stairs through that same camera lens to see if I'm able to tell you what it is. But my thought is it's an interesting picture. I see why you would believe that's paranormal, but I can't weigh in on it. But Dave, what about this ring video footage? There's something dancing in my front yard. Well, let's look at it. Sure enough, you see the yard, and all of a sudden this wispy thing starts dancing around in the front yard. And I go, okay, now go out to your ring camera and I want you to see if there's any cobwebs hanging around your front door. Well, yeah, there's some, but that's not what it is. Sure it is. It's a cobweb hanging down, blowing, and as it moves past, but it looks like it's right there. Right? That's because it's right up against the lens. Well, what about this? Looks like something's shadowy figures walking across my property. Well, what it is it's a spider walking across the lens of the Ring camera, and the Ring camera can't focus on something that close up. So what it's doing is it's a shadow of the spider walking across the lens. No, it's not. Okay. Then go put a plastic box over the camera and see if that same anomaly continues to happen. If you've got a clear plexiglass box over it, now it's out far enough so a spider is going to be seen crawling on the plexiglass. Right. So I do tell people that there are ways to examine it. And I always encourage people, look at bad evidence so that you know what it looks like when you're reviewing somebody's evidence. And then again, I can't tell you 100% that is not grandma's spirit, but it's probably dust, probably a bug, maybe moisture. That could be what's going on. Well, it's not. There were no bugs, but you're outside. Yeah, I would have seen them.
I think I saw you share or respond to someone's clip on Twitter the other day, and I think your house is haunted by dust bunnies.
Yeah,
because
and that's what it looks
like.
Something come blowing past, and it just looks like a dust bunny blowing, and they didn't like that answer, and most people don't. But again, I can't tell you because I can't stop it. I can't freeze frame it. I can't clear the video to get a better look at it. But I can tell you I've seen that same anomaly take place at 1,000 other places.
Right.
And when I go there, it's dusty as hell. Well, my house is clean. That's not dust.
Well, this has been such an honor talking with Joe Nickel. I'm talking with Mr. Dave Schrader. Dave, this has been a blast. Man, I didn't even have to bother looking at my professional notes because
I've got 10 minutes left. If you have any other quick questions or anything you want me to actually answer, I won't go on a tirade about.
No, that's Mike, I think
Mike,
we're good.
You didn't get a chance to ask me questions last time. Is there anything you want to know?
You covered everything so good, and I was fixated, and everything's great.
I am going, in all sincerity, I am going to send you a thesis paper on why pseudo-skeptic is a legit word, and then you and I can go back and forth on that one.
And then I'm going to send you one on why banana hammock is a real word.
But
it's not an existing thing. It's slang. It's misrepresentation of two different words tied together.
But
pseudoscience is what the paranormal is. It is it is not a real science, but people accept it as such because we say we use a scientific approach. But that's not what science is. You have to examine it many different ways in a setting that you're controlling. The only problem is if you control an environment too much, you then remove what may be causing the haunting. That's why when I go into a place, if grandma's ghost is seen at 3 p.m., I'm not going to come in at 10 o'clock at night and hunt the house. I'm going to set up at 10 a.m. and I'm going to sit there and watch my monitors. And when 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. comes by, I'm going to be watching every monitor and trying to communicate with grandma's ghost because that's when she's seen. And if the windows are open when she's seen, I'm going to leave them open so that I can see if a car passing by catches a reflection in the window, catching a reflection on the clock face, causing that light anomaly to pass through to look like somebody's walking. I want it to be exactly as it is. You can't take that out and replicate it in a scientific location. You've got to be at the location so you can look at it scientifically, examine what could be going on, and then deliver a hypothesis and a theory.
Dave, again, we can't thank you enough, sir. This has been an absolute pleasure.
My pleasure.
Reminder listeners where they can contact you, where they can find you, and look at all your upcoming events and all future Dave Schrader plans.
First of all, go check out Skeptical Inquirer and Skeptical Magazine. Anybody that's into this field should educate them on both sides. I firmly believe that.
Amen.
So Skeptical Inquirer, Skeptical Magazine, Skeptic Magazine. You can find me Mondays and Fridays on my YouTube channel, The Paranormal 60, if you want to watch a video presentation of the show. For those of you that like to just take the audio with you, the audio is available the next day, and it's available on every platform basically out there. So you can find the Paranormal 60 audio podcast available. And just to keep up with everything I do, just go to paranormal60.com, paranormal60.com, and you can listen to the podcasts on the front page. There's a plug-in player that's right there, or you can find where you can listen to it, how you can listen to it, and everything. So that's the best way to do it. And you can also find the events I'm going to be a part of. But guys, thanks again for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh, we can't thank you enough. Before I let you go, could you give us a shameless plug, Dave? Could you
Sure.
say, hi, I'm Dave, however you want to describe yourself. Don't say Joe Nickel. And say you're listening to the Paranormal Zone.
Hey everybody, this is Dave Schrader from the Holzer Files and Ghosts of Devil's Perch, and you're listening to the Pseudo Paranormal Zone. Is that better?
That's better. That's awesome. That works for me.
I'll give you the. Hey everybody, it's me, Dave Schrader from the Paranormal 60, Ghosts of Devil's Perch, and the Holzer Files. And for some reason, you're tuned in to the Paranormal Zone.
Oh man, that's the best one. That's great.
Is that all right?
Love it.
Thank you, sir. That was so much fun. We can't thank you enough, Dave. That was awesome.
You got it.
All
right.
Thank you.
Well,
Take care.
good talking to you again. Have a good dinner with your wife, sir.
Thank you.